So I've lived in Dubai for more than 2 years, but today I am in Hong Kong, exploring what I think about this city, because both of these cities are very popular among expats, whether it be for company setup or for living, because there's a lot of things to like about both of these cities. So in this video, I'm going to compare Hong Kong and Dubai now that I have spent time in both places. First, we will talk about the residency options in both these places. How do you actually practically move to these places? Then we'll talk about the lifestyle in both these places, because they actually differ quite a bit in many different aspects. So I think it will be very interesting. And then we will talk about the finances. So what is the cost of living like? Where can you get better housing? Things like that. And obviously also taxes. Where is your tax situation going to be better? By the way, whichever city you want to move to, I will leave links down below to my contacts in both of these places. When it comes to Dubai, I work with a team from a company called Genzone. What we essentially offer is an all-in-one service to not only set up your company in Dubai, but also to get your residence visa in Dubai. Genzone has, in my opinion, by far the best service in the market, in a market where there's a lot of, let's just say, not so great companies out there. But you don't have to take my word. You can look at our public reviews. And by the way, with Genzone, with the volume that they're getting right now, with this channel growing a lot over the past few years and things like that, we can no longer handle the volume at this current price. So for the first time, the price is going up very, very soon. So for now, you can access it at the price that is listed down below in the description, but very, very soon that price is going up. So if you want to get the service at the current price, I recommend moving forward very, very fast. And when it comes to Hong Kong, relocating there is a bit more complicated. We'll talk more about that later on. But if you want to set up a company in Hong Kong, I will also leave a link to Awesome, who are my contacts when it comes to Hong Kong setup. First, talking about the residency and visa options in these two places. In Dubai, this is going to be a much more simple process. Essentially, anyone, as long as you can afford to pay for the company, which is going to be roughly $10,000–11,000, you can set up a company and then issue yourself as the director of that company a residency visa. It's a very simple and smooth process. As long as you use the right service provider, there's a lot of bad agents out there who can do this completely wrong. There's obviously also many other options. You buy real estate there with a minimum value of 2 million dirhams, or around $500,000 or something like that. You can get a golden visa for 10 years. They have many different categories for golden visa as well. I've done previous videos about that on the channel. With Hong Kong, they have what is called their quality migrant scheme, where they essentially have this point system where you get points for different things. Now, I don't know exactly all the criteria, the entire process, because I haven't gone through this myself, but all I know is that it's a bit more cumbersome process. You need to apply for it, they need to approve you, but also it is something where if you make enough money, you have a successful enough business, I'm sure it is possible to go through it. It's just a bit more of a laborious process. So let's say you're only starting out, let's say you don't think you're going to qualify for it based on the points, then Dubai is going to be a much simpler place to move to, and certainly a much quicker process to go through with no headaches. Talking about the overall vibe, Dubai is a very clean, polished place. It's extremely modern, and it's a kind of place where things really were things are really kept nice. Whereas Hong Kong, I liken it to the New York city of Asia. So if you've ever been to New York, you're gonna have a very similar vibe in Hong Kong. It's a bit more gritty. Things aren't as polished. Things are a bit more old. Famously, they have these super old buildings that are super expensive, but they essentially look like they're crumbling. The biggest difference is that while both of these cities are very hustle and bustle, work-focused cities, in Dubai, you can essentially choose the kind of vibe you like, because depending on the area, you can have a busy work city life where there's a lot of people going to office, working in big companies. But then if you just go 20 minutes in some direction, you can suddenly have a south of Spain holiday vibe. It's a mix of work hard and play hard, whereas Hong Kong is just gonna be a work focused city. When I'm walking around the city, it's just busy people going to work, in suits, shirts, and sort of the entire city is very, very busy. It's much, much more fast paced. Now, Dubai is a fast paced city. There's a lot of people there, but Hong Kong is sort of in a different level. And it's a very cramped city. Hong Kong has a ton of people cramped to a very small space, and that kind of shows in everything. On the streets, there's a lot of people. It's very sort of stressful even to walk around the city sometimes, because there's so many people everywhere. And things like restaurants, whenever you want to go eat, if it's even a half good restaurant, chances are that there's going to be a queue outside. You cannot even go inside straight away. And it's even common that if you're alone, let's say, and you go into a restaurant, you will be seated on the same table with a stranger because there just isn't a lot of space. Talking about location, now Dubai is going to be in the Middle East, and the benefit is that it's kind of close to Asia and it's kind of close to Europe. So let's say you are from Europe and you regularly want to go visit family or something like that, or you want to travel between Europe and Asia a lot, then Dubai is really going to be an optimal location for that. Hong Kong, however, is obviously going to be closer to Asia. So for me personally, there's more places that I want to go to close to Hong Kong than close to Dubai. So for me personally, Hong Kong would have a slight advantage, but also a lot of the other countries in Asia that people like to go to, like Thailand, Bali, are not like super close to Hong Kong. So I wouldn't say there's a massive advantage. Weather-wise, in Dubai, you're going to have very optimal winters. So really pleasant winters are going to be super warm, sunny, things like that. But then excruciatingly hot summers. In Hong Kong, you're going to have kind of temperate, even cool winters, but then quite nice summers. So essentially, if you wanted to have access to pretty optimal weather year round, and obviously this is personal preference, you could spend winters in Dubai and then summers in Hong Kong. But if you want a place where you are going to spend the entire year, then Hong Kong is probably going to have an advantage just because the summers in Dubai are so hot that many people just don't want to spend the entire year there. Although you can do it because the entire city is essentially designed to allow you to live your entire life from inside. Food-wise, it's going to largely depend on what kind of cuisine you like. Obviously, Hong Kong is going to have more Cantonese, Chinese dishes, whereas Dubai is going to have more Arabic, Lebanese dishes. Although I would say that Dubai is, in my experience, far superior when it comes to food. Again, it's going to be personal preference. I know I'm going to offend some people here, but in my experience, in Dubai, you can find any type of cuisine and it's pretty much always going to be good. Like there's very few times that I've been to restaurants or ordered food in Dubai and thought that the food is like not very good or it's just like meh. Whereas in Hong Kong, obviously I've spent less time here. Maybe I just haven't found the right places. But I've had quite a few experiences where I went to a restaurant and the food was just kind of meh. And having been in Hong Kong 2 times now, there's not too many restaurants or dishes that I'm gonna miss in Hong Kong, where there's always a ton of restaurants, a ton of food that I really miss about Dubai whenever I'm not in Dubai. In terms of safety, both cities are gonna be extremely safe statistically, extremely safe places. Obviously much safer than anywhere in the West, and should be obvious that both of these places are going to be much better places to live than anywhere in the West pretty much. But in terms of safety, Dubai is going to be just in a whole another level. I think it's probably the safest city in the world at this point. When it comes to transport, now here Hong Kong is going to have much better public transportation. So let's say you don't want to drive, you don't want to take taxis, you can move around the entire city very quickly, very affordably using the metro. They have the tram system, the buses. It's going to be very affordable. In Dubai, they have a metro, but you probably cannot rely on it. Like it's kind of inconvenient to access from most places. They just have one line like going through the city, but most of the time the places where you're going to are not going to be very close to stations, and it's not just very comprehensive. So in Dubai, you are just going to end up using taxis a lot, and in the long run, you're probably going to want to have a car. Let's say you're commuting and things like that. Although I think the car dependence of Dubai is exaggerated. Like me personally, I believe most of my time in either Dubai Marina or downtown, and in those areas, the areas within themselves are very walkable. You can access anything you want within walking distance. It's just that whenever you need to go from one area to another, that you need to use a car or a taxi. Dubai also, because there's so many people moving there right now, the traffic has become very problematic, and I just hate sitting in traffic in general. So that is the biggest problem that I find living in Dubai, is sitting in traffic. Although you can obviously mitigate that by just not going out in traffic times and things like that. Now, in terms of convenience, now both these cities are going to be very convenient places. Obviously, they're both places that are very developed. They are very modern. There's lots of new things coming out all the time. Where Dubai has an advantage is that you can literally get anything to your door. Like in both cities, obviously you can order food to your door, like basic things like this, but in Dubai it's kind of in a different level. Like you can literally order cleaning to your house from your door, from the Cream app. You can order groceries. You can even order a massage to your door. Like you could do anything you want to do just directly within your apartment. You never even need to leave. Now, maybe these things also exist in Hong Kong and I just haven't found them, but I find that in terms of convenience, like Dubai is just a whole another level compared to different places. In terms of money, Hong Kong is going to be still more cash based. Like there's going to be a lot of small shops and things like that that are not going to take credit card. Now I find that this is changing now. In this kind of sense, like you you are going to need to carry cash, which I guess is slightly less convenient. Although personally, I really like that. Like I kind of like having cash. Whereas in Dubai, like I have some dirhams in my wallet at all times, but I've literally never needed to use it. In terms of service, now there's actually a very interesting difference here. So my first impression when I came to Hong Kong is that the service is kind of bad. It's kind of rude. Just before I had been in Thailand, where people are just always super friendly. Here, there's going to be a slight culture shock here. Like it's again kind of similar to New York City. If you know that, it's going to be kind of like rude, just like they just want to get things done fast. But like think about this further, I think it's less that Hong Kong has bad service. It's just like it's less friendly, but it's going to be more efficient. Like the thing about Dubai, it's very much a service culture. So the service in Dubai is going to be much more friendly, but it's going to be probably less efficient. When you go into a restaurant, they're not going to like greet you. They're not going to smile at you. They're just going to be like, okay, 2 people there, sit there. Then they're going to come there. Okay, what do you want? You're going to tell your order. They're like, okay. And then 2 minutes later, the food arrives. You eat. They don't even say bye. But you got your service, you got your food much more quickly because it's a kind of place where everyone is in a rush. Everyone just wants to get things done. No time for friendliness and things like that. So this is kind of an interesting difference. Now, lastly, talking about finances. So cost of living wise, both of these cities are going to be expensive cities. No surprise there. In terms of housing, Hong Kong is going to be pretty more expensive for the same value. Now, technically, the average rent for a 1-bedroom is going to be more expensive in Dubai. But I bet that if you looked at the average price per square foot, you're going to get a lot more for your money in Dubai. In Hong Kong, famously, people live in very, very small apartments. It's the most expensive city in the world for real estate. So especially if you want to buy real estate, there's going to be like 4 or 5, even 6 times more expensive in Hong Kong. Dubai, I find, is one of the few places in the world at this current situation where it actually makes sense to buy real estate. In terms of cost of living outside of housing, Dubai is going to be slightly more expensive, I find, for like eating out and things like that. There's a lot of like local restaurants where you can get pretty decent food for very cheap prices here in Hong Kong. Now, it's pretty much the same thing in Dubai. If you eat like Lebanese food, things like that, which is absolutely delicious in my opinion, you can also eat that for very, very cheap, and you can also get a lot of discount if you know what you're doing. I did a full video on how I get pretty much 50% off almost every time I eat in Dubai on all kinds of food. But overall, just slightly more expensive, and for like everyday things, it's going to be kind of similar, maybe a bit more in Dubai. But where you're really going to save is on taxes. Now, both of these have favorable taxes. In Hong Kong, if you are a Hong Kong resident, if you have a Hong Kong resident company, the tax rate is 16.5%. However, for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profits, it's only going to be half of that, so 8.25%. And in terms of personal income tax rates, they go from 2% all the way to 17% in Hong Kong, and there are no capital gains tax. Whereas in Dubai, it's going to be much, much easier and more favorable because it is simply 0% tax on capital gains, 0% tax on personal income, and also 0% tax on corporate income if your total business revenue is below that small business threshold of 3 million dirhams or around 816,000 US dollars. Above that, it's going to be 9%. So in any case, even if you have to pay the 9%, you're going to get more favorable taxes in Dubai. So despite that slightly higher cost of living, perhaps, you're going to overall be much better off financially, almost in any scenario in the UAE. The last thing to talk about is air quality. Now, both of these places are going to have like okay air quality, not the best, not the worst. Dubai has pretty horrible, pretty bad air quality in the summer months, but because of the heat, you're probably not going to be there anyway if you're a location independent business owner. Hong Kong, again, is usually in like the yellow, so not the best, not the worst. So if you're looking for like pristine air quality, probably neither of these places is going to offer it. Although if you're not sensitive to it, then really it's okay in both of the places. As a conclusion, for me personally, Dubai just makes a lot more sense. It's easier to move there, better taxes. You just get better quality apartments there, probably in terms of like they're more modern, there's more amenities, they're bigger spaces. It's generally the kind of place where more and more millionaires, more and more entrepreneurs, builder type people are moving right now. It's like the new hub of like internet money and things like that. Hong Kong feels more like a corporate city. So let's say you're working in banking, consulting, things like that, or you're like an executive of a really big business and you want to access the mainland China market or something like that, then Hong Kong is pretty more suited for those people. Not to say that you cannot be here as an online business owner or something like that. It's just that I think Dubai makes slightly more sense for more people. Let's say you prefer nature. Dubai is not going to have as much nature. Hong Kong is going to have a lot of nature. There's a lot of amazing mountains. Let's say you like hiking or something like that. You can hike to the top of the mountain in Hong Kong and you can get some pretty amazing views in those places. So really it's going to come down to which vibe you prefer. But for practicality, Dubai is probably going to make more sense for most people, and it's just going to be easier to go there. Again, whichever place you want to go to, I will leave the links down below in the description. And with that said, if you want to see my comparison of Dubai with the other Asian financial hub of Singapore, you can watch this video right here. So watch that video next, and I will see you in the next one.